Barroom Network presents two fired-up Bears fans. They are ready to rumble on the Bear Debate.
You're listening to the Barroom Network. The following program is intended for all audiences. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Goon Podcast with your hosts, Joe Mandel, the Goon, and the man with the plan, Adam Schaum. We're bringing you the fantasy football knowledge that you need every single week.
Derrick Henry still going. Stays in bounds. He might go 99 yards for the touchdown. Unbelievable.
Flushed out again all the way back. Turning the corner. Fires downfield. Caught. Touchdown. Only Mahomes turns what might have been a 15-yard sack into a 27-yard touchdown.
Saquon Barkley across midfield, down the sideline, staying in bounds, and Barkley takes it all the way. 68 yards for his first NFL touchdown. McCaffrey right up the middle, and he is gone for the touchdown. 58 yards. Pass is to Thomas. He's gone. Touchdown Saints.
Okay, it's time for the easiest part of any coach's job, the cut. Now, while I wasn't able to cut everyone I wanted to, I have cut a lot of you. Steven, I like your hustle. That's why it was so hard to cut you. Congratulations, the rest of you made the team. Except you and you.
God bless fantasy football. There are many things a man can do with his time. And this, better than those things.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Fantasy Football Goon. I am Joe Mandel, the Goon, and I'm joined by my co-host, Adam Schaum, the man with the plan. Adam, how you doing this Sunday morning?
Doing good, Joe. Glad there hasn't been any bombshells this morning of players taking the week off or anything. So excited about another week of fantasy football, and hopefully everything goes a little better than the last couple of weeks it went.
Yeah, I know. Last week we really thought the points were going to fly off the board, and certainly a lot of low-scoring games again. This trend is going to have to reverse itself at some point, Adam, and I'm really, really hoping it's this week.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been so every game that seems like you should expect 50 to 60 points ends up a 9-6 Jaguars-Bills game. You know, I just don't get it right now, but we need some fantasy points happening this week, and hopefully that's about to happen.
We need them pronto. It's been a rough week already for fantasy owners. And, the number one thing, our buddy Robert Woods, Bobby Trees on IR, please. Of course, he tears his ACL in practice on Friday. Ironically, the same day that they signed Odell Beckham Jr. At that point, I don't even think that was a plan for him to be an immediate role player. But here it is. Now he goes from becoming the wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4, arguably, to becoming the wide receiver 3. So what does this mean? Odell Beckham Jr. owners, Van Jefferson owners, how do you replace a Robert Woods if you couldn't get those guys, Adam? I mean, what are you thinking in your head?
Well, if there's any chance Van Jefferson's still left on your waiver wire, he's a must-add in my opinion.
Agreed.
I mean, he already should have been rostered before the Beckham move, in my opinion. But with Woods going down, Beckham immediately goes from being an extra addition they were getting to someone that's necessary for them now. And that also prevents Van Jefferson from dropping down or, possibly going into that 4th spot. Whether Beckham was going to take the 3rd spot or not, it was probably up for grabs between the two of them. But this at least secures Van Jefferson's role and probably increases it as well, as in my opinion. I mean, Stafford has played so good. He can spread the ball around. Beckham's going to have to earn his touches there, his targets. So Van Jefferson's the number one replacement if you've lost Robert Woods, in my opinion. But, I mean, I don't think the Rams offense is going to miss a whole lot, seeing how they conveniently added a stud wide receiver at the same time as losing Woods.
Yeah, I would agree. As a matter of fact, I think the Odell signing and the whole Robert Woods injury thing really helps Van Jefferson's value. I think he's going to see a lot more single coverage. And I think this guy is going to be a solid wide receiver too the rest of the way. I honestly believe that. But if you couldn't get a Van Jefferson, if you couldn't get Odell Beckham Jr., a name that I look to on waivers, Adam, is Russell Gage. There is no the rest of the season. Of course, Calvin Ridley's out dealing with his mental, whatever that personal issue is. I believe it's to focus on his mental health. So Russell Gage steps in, becomes basically their number one wide receiver next to Kyle Pitts. And this week especially, they get to go up against the Dallas Cowboys secondary. So, I mean, he's a great plug-and-play this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, Joe. He's going to see plenty of targets himself in that offense. Matt Ryan is looking really good, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. I like Atlanta a lot today versus Dallas. So Russell Gage is a great pickup. Another guy I like that's been on a lot of waiver wires, he's kind of been on rosters and dropped, but he's been extremely consistent, actually, is Tim Patrick for Denver. He's another guy you could pick up and play if you really needed that receiver this week. I mean, he's getting consistent targets. He's a huge physical receiver, and he can make the plays in the red zone as well. So I really like him as another possible fill-in.
I totally agree. I love that pickup. And I know you and I have talked a lot about the Dallas Cowboys offense as well. Another big name wide receiver coming off of IR this week is Michael Gallup. I'm curious your thoughts on the ability to plug and play him and his role in that offense moving forward.
I think he's a guy you can definitely plug and play if you need him as in a situation to replace someone or in a flex position. I've always been a big fan of Michael Gallup personally. Ever since he came into the league, I've thought he's an underrated player and underutilized even in Dallas's offense. And I really look forward to seeing him the rest of the season, hopefully healthy, and in Mike McCarthy's offense with a healthy Dak. Him and Dak haven't really had that many healthy games together, so I'd like to see more of it because I think Gallup is an extremely talented receiver that can get a lot of open targets because of Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, and the best thing about it is he's available in a really large amount of leagues right now.
Yeah,
I was lucky enough to stash him on IR in a couple of leagues, but I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do as well. So lots of replacement options available for your Robert Woods. So hopefully you can get somebody to plug in. But another big name wide receiver got put on IR yesterday. Julio Jones put on IR, expected to miss 3+ games. You know, Adam, this Tennessee offense hasn't been what we expected it to be in terms of the passing game. Of course, now they lose Derrick Henry and they have Adrian Peterson and, a backfield of question marks. What happens to the receivers on Tennessee, and does your guy A.J. Brown benefit?
I think A.J. Brown benefits slightly, but not a whole lot. I mean, he's going to get the most attention from the defensive backs anyway in most games they play in. Julio, let's be honest, has only had, one, maybe two good games this season even? Yeah. So he's kind of been in the Odell Beckham Jr. boat, really. They've kind of been the same type of player thus far. Quite disappointing. Julio really just hasn't looked himself in Tennessee yet. So hopefully for him, he gets healthy and comes back and we see the player we're used to seeing. But I don't think the passing game is going to struggle too much because that's technically not Tennessee's strength. And even without Derrick Henry, they're winning games. I mean, over the last month, they've beaten 4 of the top teams in the whole league. And Mike Vrabel is just a fantastic coach. I think he's really top candidate for Coach of the Year, in my opinion. In the last month, they beat Kansas City, Indianapolis, Buffalo, and then we saw what they did to the Rams the other night. They completely shut Stafford down. I think they can continue to do the same. And so I don't think it hurts them too bad without Julio because he hasn't been that big of a part of it anyway.
Yeah, it's true. The Tennessee offense has been frustrating for fantasy owners, especially people like Ryan Tannehill, who people drafted to be their number one quarterback. Obviously, that didn't pan out. If he's not he's at best a backup right now, and otherwise might be considered droppable without Derrick Henry. But that's beside the point. Speaking of quarterbacks, Adam, there's a heck of a matchup today. You've got Danger Russ Wilson back off of IR. And, of course, Aaron Rodgers was activated off of the COVID list yesterday. So you get Russell versus Rodgers today, and both guys should be in fantasy lineups.
Oh, absolutely. This is probably the best matchup of the weekend right here between quarterbacks. These guys have a great history of playing each other. I believe I heard they've played 8 times, and it's 4-4 right now. They've each won 4 times. So, and both of them, Russell Wilson's been dying to come back and play. I mean, I don't think he ever wanted to miss to begin with. So, he's dying to get back out there. Rodgers obviously is going to be worked up from all the stuff he's been hearing for the last couple of weeks of him sitting out. It should be a really fun game, Joe. I look forward to seeing both these guys back on the field together. And I think Seattle's going to give them a run for their money.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. And if you're fortunate enough to be in a league where somebody dropped Russell Wilson and didn't scoop him up, go and grab him off of waivers. There's a couple of leagues that I've seen him available, and I scooped him up in one, and one of them I'm eliminated. Of course, it's the Guillotine League, Adam. We're both gone, but Danger Russ Wilson was sitting out there until Thursday of this week on that league.
Wow. Yeah, he's definitely a guy you can pick up and make a run to the championship with.
Yeah, well, it gets a little easier with Guillotine because you have a lot more options on waivers now. But,
right.
That's a conversation that you and I can't have because we have been chopped.
It has happened.
That's all right. We get another go at it again next year. But
that's right.
But there are some bye weeks still this week, Adam. And, you got Bears, Bengals, Giants, and Texans on a bye. Not mega fantasy names, but of course, you had David Montgomery come back and have a nice game, last week. Joe Burrow and company, Joe Mixon, Sterling Shepard for the Giants. I'm kind of happy the Giants have a bye week here because I'm a Sterling Shepard owner in like 6 leagues, and he could use that extra week to get healthy. So as someone looking to make a playoff push, I like seeing Sterling Shepard get a week off. And then we can just forget about the Texans outside of Brandon Cooks. But
yeah, and even that hasn't been great. So mostly you're missing the Cincinnati Bengals out of this group this week, with Chase and Burrow and Mixon are the big guys missing. However, David Montgomery did look really great last week coming back. They gave him the full workload pretty much. David Montgomery's just a stud, and he's completely underrated in fantasy football and in real NFL football.
It's the truth. And if you have an opportunity to acquire somebody, he's one of the names you look at trying to acquire before the trade deadline, which in most fantasy leagues is right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, he carried teams to championships last year down the stretch. And as far as run defenses go, the Bears have a pretty good schedule for him going forward, except for like maybe 1 or 2 games that are going to be semi-tough. But other than that, the running defenses they're going to face are very favorable for him.
Yeah, David Montgomery is one of those guys that I'm in a really deep 16-man league, the Blitz Pro League. You could follow him on Twitter. There's all fantasy experts from all across fantasy fandom, and my team's 7-2 right now. I'm very happy to say, and I've had Montgomery on IR for whatever it is 4 weeks, and I got by with like Jordan Howard and J.D. McKissick. So, it's a deep 16-man defensive IDP league too. So it's madness. And, David Montgomery, I'm actually pulling up the rest of his schedule right now just so we can take a look at it. But it's pretty nice going the rest of the way. Of course, after the bye, you get Baltimore, you get Detroit. Then you get Arizona, which is a little iffy for the run game. But then the rest of the way through the playoffs, it's really, really good for Montgomery. From week 14 on, listen to this. Green Bay, Minnesota, Seattle, New York, Giants, Minnesota.
Yeah, I love it.
If you're a fantasy owner for a playoff run, you got to love the prospect of Montgomery having those great matchups.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it last season. He had 4 or 5 matchups down the end of the year, and he scored 20-plus fantasy points in every game, I believe, and literally just carried teams to championships last year.
So trade for him now. You heard it here first.
Yeah, it's going to be
acquire him however you can. But with that said, Adam, let's dive head first into our starts and sits of the week. And I'm going to remind everybody in the chat room, please get us your questions. We'll answer them here live on the air as they come in. So don't hesitate to get us some questions. We want to help you win your matchup this week. But let's dive head first into our quarterback starts of the week. Actually, yeah, we got a question here, but we'll do our quarterback starts first. My quarterback start of the week, and I got a few of them. You and I have a couple names on here, but we were just talking about Russell Wilson. I love him today against Green Bay. I think he comes off of IR hungry and ready to score some points. I like Tyler Lockett as well. I think those two are going to have a big day against Green Bay. Look for Russell Wilson to be the Russ of old. I'm expecting him to rush for around 65 yards or so and throw for 3 touchdowns and close to, if not over, 300 yards. So dynamite fantasy day for Russell Wilson. Carson Wentz is another guy that I think might be, when all is said and done this week, Adam, I know you have him on your list too, but we'll talk about that momentarily. I think Carson Wentz could be the highest scoring quarterback in fantasy this week. I really believe it's a possibility for how good he's looked and how bad Jacksonville has looked. It's a recipe for success. So if he's available on waivers, and he probably is in most leagues, I'd take a whirl on him because I think he's going to have a good day. So definitely start Carson Wentz if you can. And then last but not least, Derek Carr going up against the worst pass defense in the NFL in the Kansas City Chiefs. Might be the worst defense I've ever seen. I mean, that's saying a lot. Maybe not as bad as the Detroit Lions of like 4 years ago, but still pretty damn bad. Derek Carr, they've gone a week without any major hiccups in the public relations department. And this is a guy that wants to silence the critics. So I love Derek Carr this week. If I have him, I'm starting him. There's a couple leagues he was available on waivers, and I had, some bye week quarterbacks, or I lost some guys to injury, and boom, I picked up Derek Carr. I feel really good about it. Starting him over Ryan Tannehill, over a majority of guys. So those are my quarterback starts of the week, and I feel pretty good about them. Adam, I know you share one with me, but let's see yours.
Yeah, well, Joe, I want to say on Derek Carr, I love that choice as well. He historically just plays very well versus the Chiefs. The Raiders always step up and play the Chiefs down to the wire, it seems like. And, yeah, without all the drama going on, I think they're going to find a little bit of a flow, and that's going to be a really good game probably, especially the way the Chiefs have been playing. So I love all those picks. Yeah, we share number one is Carson Wentz, man. He's been playing so good. I don't think he's getting enough attention for as well as he's played, especially over the last month or so. I think he's thrown 3 touchdown passes in multiple games the last 2 or 3 weeks in a row. Got Michael Pittman's just emerging as a total stud out there, and they seem to have a really good relationship. I love Carson Wentz and the Colts offense today. Jonathan Taylor's probably going to get it going, and Carson Wentz could be part of that by throwing him some screens, and we've seen Jonathan Taylor break those off for long runs. So I love him today. I also love Matt Ryan, another guy that just like Carson Wentz has really been coming on over the last few weeks. Atlanta's offense is finally looking better somehow with Calvin Ridley out of it right now. Kyle Pitts is starting to show why he's going to be the future of tight ends and starting to dominate out there. He's pretty much uncoverable for these. I mean, if they get him matched up on linebackers or anything, it's over. And they're using him as a wide receiver outside all over the place. Matt Ryan loves him. I look for those guys to have a huge day today. I don't think Dallas has anyone that can cover them. Teddy Bridgewater is another guy I've mentioned a few times this year. Just nothing fancy. He's not going to get you 35 fantasy points, but he's pretty safe to get you around 20 if you need a streamer or somebody this week. He's pretty good for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's a pretty good chance that he has fantastic weapons out there. With Jerry Jeudy healthy now, Noah Fant, Courtland Sutton, they have 2 great running backs. I just love Teddy Bridgewater most weeks. He's just a super safe play, and I think he's a guy you can definitely start this week versus Philadelphia.
I fully agree. I think all these guys are going to have a good day. I think Teddy might surprise people and outperform what we think out of him. I think, if things go really well, you could see, 28 to 30 fantasy points out of him today. Granted, I'd rather start the other 2 guys on this list, but I do think Teddy could definitely help you out if you're in a pinch.
Yeah.
But let's quickly get to some questions in the chat, Adam. We got a few of them coming in. Phantom Beast wants to know full PPR, Michael Carter against the Bills or Brandon Ayuk versus the Rams. I know you and I don't really like either of these guys very much, but I would say that the Bills are very good against the run. Ayuk has been kind of MIA for the majority of this season. I don't even know how to pick this one, Adam. Where do you fall on this? I think I'd rather pick somebody off of waivers and start either of these 2 guys.
Well, I don't hate them as much as it sounds like you do today. I think Ayuk's been looking really good. The last couple of weeks, they've been incorporating him more in the offense. We've heard some of the stuff that's come out about what happened earlier in the year where him and Shanahan seemed to not be getting along, and Shanahan didn't think he was putting out full efforts in practice, they say. They kind of got into it, cleared the air about it, and since then, Ayuk's apparently been working hard in practice. They've been getting him the ball. He had a really good game last week. I think he could have another good game today versus the Rams. They may have to throw those short passes to Ayuk and let him make plays, with Jalen Ramsey out there and stuff. So I don't hate Ayuk. Michael Carter, is Mike White playing quarterback today for the Jets?
I believe Mike White is getting the start, yes.
I kind of like that he may check down a lot to Michael Carter in that as well in the full PPR style. I think I would probably play Michael Carter out of the 2 because I think he may get a lot. Last time Mike White played, Michael Carter had like 13 targets or something, I think. So I think I would take that, even though as good as the Bills' run defense is, I think Carter could make it up in the passing game.
Yeah, I think it's close between these 2 guys.
But I would explore the waiver options, as you said, Joe, if there was anything better.
Yeah, I'd definitely explore the waiver options. I mean, I don't dislike either of these guys. They're just not my favorite. I agree with you. I think I'd go Carter between the 2 just because he's more focal point of that offense. And then that Niners game is tomorrow night on Monday Night Football. So you never know, how they're going to change their offense for the primetime scene. So I'd say I'd go Carter out of these guys, but definitely check your waiver wire. I got another one about Ayuk. Connor wants to know Ayuk, Dawson Knox, or Devontae Smith. I have a hard time benching Devontae Smith in any way, shape, or form, given the fact that he can blow up any week. I know he's kind of a hit or miss player. So I'd probably go Devontae, but what do you think, Adam?
I would probably play Devontae out of this group too. A little bit concerns me because the Broncos defense has played really well. We've seen them shut some teams down here just recently. So I have slight concerns about that because, let's face it, Jalen Hurts isn't the greatest passer. But I'm also a little worried about Dawson Knox in his first game back off that broken hand. So I would play Devontae Smith out of these 3.
Yeah, I agree. If Knox shows that he's healthy this week, then I'm confident to start him again. But for now, I'd go Devontae Smith for sure. Nate says he's got no great options at running back. He's got Hines, Dillon, or Mike Carter. Has CMC in his other spot. I'm a big fan of A.J. Dillon this week, going up against Seattle. I think they've been kind of using him a lot more in that offense, and I expect him to be used heavily in this game. So if I had to pick somebody here, I'd pick Dillon. Adam, what do you think?
I 100% agree. I like Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon today to both put up a lot of points. I think Aaron Jones may do it in the passing game and Dillon on the ground. So A.J. Dillon's a really good player, man. I mean, if they didn't have somebody as good as Aaron Jones in front of him, he would be a starter on most teams. Yeah, A.J. Dillon, the future looks really good for him. He would be my choice out of these three, no doubt.
Yeah, he's a guy that is available in a lot of leagues too. I would add him on your bench right now as a flex play, and I think he's becoming that guy that you could probably play every week as a flex.
Absolutely.
So, and especially, if you have an Aaron Jones on your roster already, the handcuff is probably pretty good with the playoffs approaching. So definitely pick up Dillon if you could. So great question, Nate. We got a couple more from Connor, and then we're going to get into the rest of our starts of the week. Connor, Jordan Howard, Tim Patrick, Michael Carter, Elijah Moore, pick 2. I'm probably in the minority here, but I've liked what I've seen out of Jordan Howard quite a bit, and the way that they're using him down there in Philly. And Elijah Moore is a guy that I've really been impressed with as well. Although they are saying that our guy Jeff Wilson, Adam, is going to be way more involved this week.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how that plays out. So in this respect, given the amount of activity in the lineups for these guys, I like Jordan Howard. He's going to get his carries, and I don't know why, but I just love what I've seen out of Tim Patrick here. So I think I'd probably go Howard and Patrick. Carter's a close third for me, but I don't even know. I think Howard and Patrick will probably score a touchdown today, so I feel good about that. So that's why I picked them. But Adam, out of these guys, who do you like?
I agree with you. I definitely would take Howard and Patrick out of this group. We mentioned Patrick once already. We've also mentioned Bridgewater and how I think they're going to have a good day down there. Jordan Howard, they're giving him all the touches, man. He's getting the goal line, all the goal line carries right now. And, I mean, even if he doesn't have very much yardage, he could easily get you 2 touchdowns and, 14 points or something, which is probably all you need if you're trying to pick 2 out of these guys. That would be a great day for you. So, yeah, I'm leaving the Jets on the bench and taking Howard and Patrick. And, yeah, without a doubt.
I love it. And we got some breaking news here, Adam. Jaguars starting running back James Robinson will play today for the Jaguars. He's been battling that heel injury.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a surprise active. I thought for sure he would be out again this week. So if you have James Robinson, I guess you'd give him a whirl. He's too good to bench, but that's a surprise for me. I honestly didn't think he was going to play this week.
I thought there was a chance he would play. I still have a little bit of concern whether I think it's kind of like a pain tolerance type of thing. He could get out there and it start hurting him bad. They say it's not something that's going to make anything worse, but you never know. He'd get out there and take a couple of carries and it not feel great and him come out of the game. So I'd be a little weary playing him, but a lot of situations you may have to. But if you have a better option, you might want to consider it.
Yeah, I know James Robinson has been a bit of a roller coaster this year, and with an injury, it is a little bit of a risky play, but I know there's a lot of buys this week too to take into account. So
yeah,
always a possibility. Buddy Connor, another tight end question: Kyle Pitts or Dawson Knox?
Kyle Pitts.
You got to go Pitts here. I agree, Adam, and I think the reason is one, the matchup. you really can't go wrong against Dallas. And then, of course, the fact that he's basically their number one wideout now.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts is a must start as long as he's playing. He's a must start. Connor, if you have both those guys, I try to trade Dawson Knox right now before the deadline. Get something else you need on your team because you need to play Pitts every week.
Yep, he's just too big of a target. And, with no Calvin Ridley the rest of the way, I mean, it's basically the Russell Gage and Kyle Pitts show. And I think Kyle Pitts is taller than Russell Gage. I'm not 100% sure the difference, but I think Kyle Pitts is like 6'3", isn't he?
I think he's like 6'6" or something.
Yeah, so Kyle Pitts is going to see a lot of targets the rest of the season, and especially against that horrible Dallas secondary. So I love it. Great question. One more from Nate, and we're moving on. E. Moore or D. Johnson? I'm trying to figure out which E. Moore he's talking about. Elijah Moore. Thank you. I think you got to go Elijah here, right?
If he's talking about D'Ernest Johnson, I would be playing D'Ernest Johnson for Cleveland because he's going to be the main running back there today.
Yeah, Nate, which Johnson are you talking about here? I'm assuming you're.
Or is it Deontay Johnson? Or
yeah, you're probably if you're talking about
Deontay Johnson, I would play Elijah Moore because Big Ben's out.
See, it says for wide receiver Elijah Moore.
Oh, it does say for wide receiver, yeah.
But Elijah Moore is a running back, so.
No, Elijah Moore's the Jets' rookie wide receiver.
Oh, right.
You're thinking of Elijah Mitchell.
Man, my brain is all over the place. Yeah, that's a close one, but Elijah Moore has looked very, very good when he's out there. So, yeah. Oh, Deontay. He said Deontay. So,
yeah, I don't know about Deontay with Mason Rudolph. I think I would play Elijah Moore with Mike White.
Yep, and then for those of you who don't know, Big Ben was placed on the COVID list yesterday as well. I forgot to mention that at the top of the show. So for that reason, I would go Elijah Moore. More likely to be involved in the game. That's all I got. But let's get to our running back starts of the week now, Adam, and I'll let you lead things off here.
All right, Joe. I love Leonard Fournette today coming back off the bye week with Tampa. They're going against the Washington football team defense, who has been just total trash all season. They were expected to be one of the best defenses, and they have completely went the opposite way this year. I don't know what's happened there, but I think Leonard Fournette has a huge day today. Unfortunately, I'm playing him in multiple leagues, and it's probably going to kill me, but Leonard Fournette, I bet, gets close to 20 touches and at least one touchdown today. And we mentioned the Packers a minute ago. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, I think, both have a great game versus Seattle. I think Aaron Jones is probably going to kill them in the passing game today. He had that one huge 4-touchdown game like week 2, I think it was, or maybe week 3. And since then, he's really kind of been somewhat of a disappointment based upon draft position, I would say. But I think he may break back out today versus Seattle in a really defense that doesn't scare anybody. And then on the other side of that Leonard Fournette game, I like J.D. McKissick for Washington today against Tampa. I expect Tampa to be ahead in this game. Washington to probably be throwing a lot, and that's when McKissick usually gets on the field and catches a lot of these dump-offs and just makes his money in PPR format. So I like him to play a pretty good role today versus Tampa and give you a safe floor.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of McKissick this week. It's a game that caters towards his play style, and exactly. I think you got to fire him up at least as a flex. I like him even as an RB2 this week. So great picks here, Adam. We do have some breaking news out of NFL. Zach Moss is active today for the Buffalo Bills. He was expected to be inactive, and which is why you will see here in my running back starts of the week here in a second. I picked Devin Singletary, but it looks like Zach Moss is going to give it a go today. So we'll have to play that by ear, and it leads right into my running back starts of the week. I have Devin Singletary on here against the New York Jets. I had him starting here because I expected him to be inactive today and Singletary to get all of the carries, but looks like it'll be back to the typical split. I still like Singletary this week because he's fully healthy compared to, where Zach Moss is. So I think it's a Singletary leading the way with Moss kind of being a complimentary today, if I had to guess. So I think Devin Singletary will at least get you a touchdown and probably close to 89, 90 yards today against that Jets run defense. So I like Devin Singletary today, especially for a guy that's been dropped in a lot of leagues. You could probably pick him up and plug him right in on this bye week. Another guy that continues to stay in my start list is Darrell Williams. He's looked increasingly better with the Chiefs. Making up for the lack of offense, he seems to be the only person that can get anything going right now. And Las Vegas, not very good against the run. I love Darrell Williams today. I look for him to go over 100 yards with the touchdown. I feel confident about that. And last but not least, we talked about J.D. McKissick already. Adam and I both love him. He's a PPR machine. He might catch 20 passes today. I'm not even kidding. And even if he catches 20 passes for 30 yards, you're still having a heck of a fine fantasy day. So J.D. McKissic must be started in all formats. Big fan of him this week. So looking forward to seeing that game. Should be fun.
Yep, those are great picks, Joe.
Thank you, sir. Let's see here. We got some questions here, or one question. Connor wants to know what he thinks about the odds of Kyler Murray playing today. I don't see it happening. I know Adam and I have talked about this. Adam, what do you think is going on in Arizona?
I think you're in the same boat as last weekend. I would not take my chances of waiting around on the 3:00 game for Kyler Murray. I expect him and Hopkins to both be out. Honestly, they're still winning games, so I don't know why they would play him if it's not necessary right now. If he's any questionable at all, I think they leave him out and just keep playing. What's his name? Colt McCoy got the job done just fine last week behind James Conner's monster game when Chase Edmonds went out on the first play of the game. So I don't expect Kyler Murray or Hopkins to play, and I would be looking for another option before the 12:00 game started.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyler Murray, it's unfortunate. They got to get him healthy because they're a playoff team. Let's be honest. They're most likely going to be having a deep playoff run, and they're not going to risk anything with him. So I would be very surprised if he gives this one a go.
Yeah,
looking at the inactives as expected. Alvin Kamara is inactive today. Mark Ingram will start in his place. So if you have Kamara, make sure you pull him out of your lineup because he will not be playing today. And the Saints, again, another team that want to make sure that they're keeping him healthy. Mark Ingram knows the offense. He's been there. I'm starting him too wherever I can. If I was lucky enough to get him off waivers. I know he was scooped up very quickly in all my leagues within minutes of the news coming out. So, Adam, what are your expectations for Mark Ingram starting today? Of course, for the Saints.
I expect a pretty good game out of Mark Ingram today. I think he's a safe play. If you have Alvin Kamara and we're fortunate enough to either pick him up off the wire or trade for him or something, I think you're using him today. I mean, let's face it, Kamara was the Saints offense, so Ingram's going to have to catch a pretty big bulk of that work today. And he's great. Mark Ingram's great in the passing game as well. I mean, I don't think people talk about that enough. He's done a great job in the passing game his whole career. I think they said he's like 20 yards short of breaking the Saints all-time record for rushing today. So it's kind of a big day for Mark Ingram personally. So I expect a big game out of him today. He's going to give you a really safe floor. So hopefully if you had Kamara, you got him. If not, hopefully you have another good option. But Mark Ingram's very safe, I think.
I totally agree with you there. I love Mark Ingram this week, and plug him in where you can. But Adam, why don't you tell us a little bit about your wide receiver starts of the week?
All right, Joe, a few guys that I like this week are the guy we mentioned earlier for a split second was Michael Pittman for the Indianapolis Colts. He's been coming on this season every week. He looks a little better and a little better. Him and Carson Wentz relationship seems to really be getting there where they trust each other. Pittman just looks like a stud the last couple of games, and versus a terrible Jacksonville defense, we expect Wentz to have a good game, and Pittman's his number one guy. So I think Wentz, Pittman, and Taylor all show up today and get you lots of fantasy points for the Colts. And another guy that I've liked for the last few weeks since he returned from injury is Jerry Jeudy. He's eating up targets in Denver. Honestly, he's taking them from Cortland Sutton's the one being hurt by Jerry Jeudy right now. It seems like Cortland Sutton's games have been way down since Jerry Jeudy came back. But Jerry Jeudy is just one of the best route runners in the NFL, even at his young age and his limited games he's played. So we mentioned Bridgewater having a good game. Jerry Judy's going to be the guy today, I think. I think he gets in the end zone. And another guy that's one of the stud receivers in the NFL, but he really let teams down last week, caused teams to get cut in guillotine leagues and things like that, man. CeeDee Lamb. I think the Cowboys altogether bounce back today. CeeDee Lamb comes back as a number one receiver today versus Atlanta. Again, a defense that doesn't do anything that worries me. I think CeeDee Lamb has a monster game today and gets at least 10 targets.
Yeah, I love it. This is the guy. This is the kind of game that you have CD Lamb on your lineup, and you can feel good to get at least 20 fantasy points.
Yeah,
And anything less than 20 fantasy points out of CD Lamb today is a disappointment. So I'm looking for him to blow up big time today as well. So I love all those picks, Adam.
thank you.
I really like Van Jefferson today against the tomorrow. It's Monday Night Football against the 49ers. Of course, horrible Robert Woods tearing his ACL on Friday. Van Jefferson was already becoming involved in this offense. Matthew Stafford loves him. Now you throw Odell into the mix, who doesn't really fully probably know the playbook yet. I imagine he'll be mostly a decoy if he does go out there, which I'm sure you'll probably see him now with the injury. But Van Jefferson, going to see a lot of single coverage in this game. Obviously, they'll be focusing on Cooper Kupp. I think Van Jefferson has a huge day, and I'm starting him wherever I can. So I love Van Jefferson. Another guy flying under the radar somehow is Cole Beasley. Emmanuel Sanders seems to have taken a back seat now in that offense for whatever reason. And Cole Beasley's kind of coming forward. So I think Cole Beasley has a big day against the New York Jets. They can't really defend anybody, especially across the middle of the field. It's the Cole Beasley kind of game. He could have 10 catches and go over 100 yards. I think Cole Beasley scores twice this week. So I think you get 2 touchdowns out of him. I feel pretty confident in that. I'm starting him in every league that I own him. Love Cole Beasley. And that's another guy I'm targeting too in a trade before the deadline, just because, he's heavily involved and he's getting more involved as the season goes on. And last but not least here is my wide receiver start of the week. This is my number one guy that I've been eyeing in all my matchups, and that's Hunter Renfrow against the Kansas City Chiefs. As I mentioned at the top of the show, Kansas City is the worst pass defense in the league. Hunter Renfrow has a great relationship with Derek Carr. The guy just is a target machine. I forgot the math, but I believe he has an average of about 7 targets per game, which against Kansas City could easily go for 100-plus yards and a score. Hunter Renfrow must be started in all leagues. And the rest of the way, I think he's a wide receiver 1. I really do. I know it's a bit of a bold call, but Hunter Renfrow is just proving it week after week to me. And that's what I got for wide receiver starts of the week, Adam.
I like him, Joe, especially Hunter Renfrow. Yeah, he's got extremely safe floor with a huge upside as well.
Definitely a lot of upside, and I love him the rest of the way. Before I get to my tight end starts of the week, we do have a little bit of breaking news. Jonnu Smith is inactive today for the New England Patriots. So that means Hunter Henry will be the lead dog against the Browns. I was kind of not loving the matchup with Henry since Cleveland's good against the tight end, but without Jonnu out there, I think I might like him a little bit better. So while he's not on my start list, that helps things out for Hunter Henry if you're an owner of him this week. But I love my guy, Pat Freiermuth. He has proved week after week that he is becoming a must-start tight end. Against the Bears last week, he had 2 touchdowns. Just looked like a world beater. 24 fantasy points out of a tight end is it's like opening presents on Christmas. It's the gift that keeps on giving. So Freiermuth is a guy that I love the rest of the way, and I'm not quite sure how he's going to be with Mason Rudolph, but I imagine he'll be a safety blanket, and I imagine that probably helps him. But I still love his matchup against Detroit, so he's one of my starts. We talked about Teddy Bridgewater, but I think his tight end, Noah Fant, against Philadelphia is going to feast today in the middle of the field. I mean, he has proved in good matchups that he can be a relevant fantasy tight end, and Philly, not great against the tight end, and I think Noah Fant is going to be that big man feasting on a lot of targets today. And last but not least, we talked about we talked about Dan Arnold, going up against the Indianapolis Colts. They traded for him for a reason. He's a guy that is an athletic tight end that can get it done. And I think he is going to be targeted a lot in this game. So look for Dan Arnold to be that guy. And he's available almost in all leagues that you could probably give him a whirl and start him up. So tight end is starting to get a little deeper, like we originally predicted about 6 weeks ago. But Dan Arnold could be one of those guys the rest of the way that could help you out. So those are my tight end starts of the week. Adam, what do you got?
Those are great choices, Joe. I also have Dan Arnold as one of mine today versus Indianapolis. He's been seeing consistently 8 targets a game, I think. He's just basically what Trevor Lawrence goes to. He's the one safe thing he has. And in a game where I don't think they're going to do a whole lot against Indianapolis, he's probably going to need Dan Arnold all he can. So I expect at least 8 targets, and he's going to give you that safe, 8 to 10 fantasy points that, let's face it, most weeks, if you can get 8 to 10 from your tight end, you're going to be fairly happy with that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm playing Dan Arnold if I have him. Another guy I like is Ricky Seals-Jones again today, coming off the bye week. He was playing really well the last few games before the bye. Tampa Bay's pass defense has not been good this year. I think Ricky Seals-Jones is going to be needed, like we talked about with McKissick for the Washington football team today. So I think Seals-Jones gets plenty of targets in this game and has a good chance to get 40, 50 yards and possibly in the end zone. And the other guy we talked about already is my tight end of the week would be Kyle Pitts versus Dallas.
Love it.
Yeah, I just don't think Dallas has anybody that can match up against him. I think Dallas is just – Kyle Pitts could easily get a couple of those huge pass interference calls down the field and just out of his physicality getting down the sidelines on Dallas with their small corners. So I think out of 5-6 targets he gets minimum, he's going to get 70, 80 yards because they're going to throw down the field to him, not dink and dunk like Hunter Henry style or something like that. So Kyle Pitts with a big game today versus Dallas Cowboys. I think the Falcons give the Cowboys a run for their money all the way to the end. So those are the guys I like this week at tight end.
I love it. All great plays, all great pits. Yeah, I know Kyle Pitts will be great, but all great picks. I love it. We got a few questions here in the chat. We're going to field them, and then we'll take a quick commercial, and then we'll do our sleepers and our sits. But our buddy Marcos in the chat, half-point PPR, Christian Kirk, Godwin, or Mike Williams. Also, I'm starting Keenan Allen. Well, Godwin is officially active today in what is a fantastic matchup. So I have a hard time benching Godwin against the Washington football team. So that's who I'm going to go with here. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, Keenan Allen, obviously you need to be starting. Godwin, yeah, like you said, it's hard not to have him on your bench when he plays. I do have a little bit of concern that he could go out there and not play a full game or, not feel comfortable and come out of it, or they just use him kind of as a decoy or something. But if he's playing, I think you got to play Godwin. So I would be playing Keenan Allen and Chris Godwin.
No doubt about it. Just the potential is just, off the charts there.
Yeah.
Our buddy Jamal Lewis, morning fellas, leaning on you too this weekend. I have Woods, Chubb, and D. Harris all out for me. It's a rough time to be a fantasy owner. I can't remember a year where there's been so many injuries to running backs, Adam.
Yeah, man, I feel you on this one, Jamal. I've been really hurt this week on my most important team. My starting running backs were Nick Chubb and Alvin Kamara, so I took the huge blow this week, and I'm doing my best to patch it up. I'm having to lean on some guys I'm not wild about playing, like Antonio Gibson today, and honestly, I'm sitting there thinking about what you mentioned earlier. I've got Jeff Wilson sitting on the bench, and I'm like, I just know I'm going to play Gibson, and Jeff Wilson's going to score 2 touchdowns on my bench. But, yeah, Jamal, it's tough right now for running back. So I don't know what your other options are, but let us know what you got.
Yeah, let us know in the chat. We'll definitely help you out. Let's see what we got here. We got one from Jonathan. Jalen Hurts with his sketchy play or Matty Ice with the high implied total. I really like both plays this week. And I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think you got to go towards Matty Ice here.
Yeah, I like Matt Ryan today. I told you he was one of my starts of the week. I like Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan's a lot safer play here. We know Jalen Hurts can score with his legs and stuff, but I don't expect him to do a whole lot versus Denver, right? Yeah, versus the Denver defense today.
Yeah.
Denver's defense has played really good. Fangio's a very good defensive coach that'll know how to try to shut Hurts down on the ground. So they're going to force him to throw the ball, and I think Matty Ice gives you a lot safer play this week.
Yep, I totally agree. I'd say go Matty Ice. I mean, big potential there. It could blow up. So Go big or go home. And Adam, we got one here from Jack. I'll let you take it first. Jack wants to know Freiermuth or Knox.
That one's tough with Big Ben out. I would have immediately said Freiermuth, but with Big Ben out, I'm kind of unsure what to expect there. I think I still lean Freiermuth, though. I think the Bills have got so many options to spread it around with, and they could blow this game out possibly. So I think Freiermuth getting a more competitive game probably is going to see more targets.
I would agree, and I think Freiermuth will be that safety blanket for Mason Rudolph as well. So, and let's be honest, we don't exactly know how they're going to ease Knox back into the game. As we mentioned, Buffalo's a playoff team. There's no doubt about it. They're going to be a playoff team, and they want to make sure they keep their pieces healthy. So, I would lean Freiermuth in this case as well, especially the rest of the season. Both of these guys, you got two great options, so that's a great problem to have. Our buddy Jamal, Jeff Wilson, also on my bench, but I have Benjamin and Jamison Crowder. If I had to pick between those guys, I'd probably start Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, I think I would out of those as well. It's going to be a toss one in and hope, Jamal. It's going to be a rough Sunday, but Jeff Wilson to be the guy. Chance, I think you've got the most touchdown opportunity there. He's been a touchdown machine when he's played for San Francisco, so I would play Wilson out of these.
No doubt. Totally agree there. And we are going to take a quick commercial break. And once we come back, we're going to talk about our sits and our sleepers. But we'll be right back after this word from our other Barroom Network sponsors.
The Barroom Network presents two fired up Bears fans. They are ready to rumble on the Bear Debate.
Welcome back to Fantasy Football Goon. We're going to dive into our sits of the week here. And Adam, we'll start with you. Who are you leaving on the bench this week?
Like I just mentioned, Antonio Gibson. Unfortunately, I'm being forced to play him, but if I had any other option, I would. Antonio Gibson, I think he's hopefully coming back healthy here after having the bye week, a couple weeks off to finish healing the shin injury he's been nursing all season. Give him all the credit to playing through that all year, being the tough guy running back there. We know he is, but it hasn't quite resulted in fantasy points as fantasy managers drafted him to get. So I'm putting him on the bench this week in what's a tough matchup, and hopefully starting next week he can finish the end of the season super strong for everybody. But this week I think it's more of a McKissick game based on matchup. So if you have another option, I'd keep Gibson on my bench. Another guy, Cortland Sutton, I mentioned the Jerry Jeudy effect has had on him. He seems to really have lost targets to Jerry Jeudy right now. And with so many other options, the emergence of Tim Patrick, I think Cortland Sutton's a guy I'm not comfortable playing right now. And the other one's Baker Mayfield this week. Nothing really against Baker Mayfield, just a tough matchup versus New England defense that has been playing extremely well the last few weeks. I think Cleveland's strength is running the ball, and they're going to have to try to do that with Dearness Johnson today. New England just plays extremely safe, consistent football on both sides of it. So you got to play a clean game versus New England. I think Bill Belichick's going to put the heat on Baker Mayfield and make it tough on him. I think Cleveland has to rely on the running game too much. So Baker's not going to kill your team, but I don't expect a huge game from him today. So I'm not looking to play Baker unless I really have to.
Yeah, I love all those picks. I think none of those guys are going to perform up to par today. So great calls. Leave on your bench. I've got 2 Tennessee Titans to lead off my sits. I got Adrian Peterson and Ryan Tannehill. The backfield's getting a little messy now. AP, while he had a lot of carries last week, didn't really do a whole lot with them. And, of course, New Orleans defense is no slouch. Between Peterson and Tannehill, I just don't know how they can get it going against the Saints this week. The box will be stacked, and the passing game is going to have to find a way to get it done. I don't see any way it happens, so both of those guys are sits for me. I'm also sitting Jarvis Landry against the New England Patriots. Of course, he's now the number 1 wide receiver for Cleveland. As you mentioned, Baker is going to be probably running for his life in this game, and they're really going to have to beat New England on the ground if they want to win. So I don't think Landry has much to do at all today. I think he might have like 3 catches for 20 yards. I would lower your expectations for Jarvis Landry today, 100%. And then Tyler Higbee against the 49ers on Monday Night Football. You got Odell in town now. They're using the running backs. They're using Van Jefferson. They're using Cooper Kupp. Higbee's been hiding further and further in the background, and all the shenanigans are going to push him further there. So I'm going as far to say Tyler Higbee might be a drop at this point. Yeah. I'll stash him for one more week to see how he does. But for me, Tyler Higbee is a drop, so I'm going to bench him. Those are my sits of the week. My sleepers, I love Brandon Bolden, the running back for the New England Patriots. He's heavily involved in that passing game for New England. I think he'll be heavily involved today against the Browns. Same thing, Tyler Conklin against the Chargers, Teddy Bridgewater, as we talked about earlier, against the Eagles, and the newly activated Michael Gallup against the Atlanta Falcons today. I like all these people to have big days at the office. And last but not least, Adam, let's get to your sleepers of the week before we let you go.
Thanks, Joe. Those were all great picks. I also agree with Brandon Bolden as one of the sleepers this week. It sounds like Ramondre Stevenson is going to play, though, now after being considered. I didn't think he was. He is going to play, but I still think Bolden's going to pick up quite a bit of value in the passing game there. Like we said, they like to kind of play it easy and safe with Mac Jones, and throwing to your running back's one of the safest things you can do. So Bolden can easily get some points there. I like this guy, Tyler Johnson for Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as a possible fill-in, or, he may play 50-50 snaps with Chris Godwin today. I think they just have such a great matchup here. I think it's a huge day for Mike Evans, and wouldn't be surprised to see somebody like this Tyler Johnson sneak in with a touchdown, filling in for Godwin on, half the snaps maybe. The other guy is Jordan Howard, we mentioned earlier. He's just getting all the goal line carries for Philadelphia. Their bread and butter is running the ball right now. They're running it more and more every week. They're going to need to do that versus Denver to have a chance in this game. So I think Jordan Howard can fall in the end zone once or twice again, and he needs to be rostered and played in most leagues right now.
I totally agree. I think all these guys are I think you see a touchdown from all 3 of these guys today. That's how good I feel about that. But great picks, Adam. I know we got to let you go because you have another thing you got to get to. But we always appreciate you hanging out here with us, talking fantasy every Sunday morning. I will field a few more questions from the chat before we get out of here. But Adam, as always, I want to thank you, brother, and see if you have any final thoughts before we let you go.
Just thank you, Joe, for all the nice compliments there, and thank you for having me as always on Sundays. Thanks to everybody that's tuned in and asked questions this morning. Hopefully we can have a nice injury-free day full of a lot of points
I hope
today.
so.
Yeah, let's see a lot of 31-30 games and stuff like that. Let's see high scores instead of all these 90 and 100-point fantasy totals for the weeks. So just good luck to everybody. I hope everything goes well today, and look forward to seeing all the results this evening.
Sounds like a plan, Adam. And have a great rest of your Sunday. And I will talk to you later tonight when we talk football.
Thank you, guys. Get your questions in for Joe. He's got all the answers.
All right. Adam, we'll see you later, buddy. Take care.
Bye, guys.
All right, later. All right. So now you guys get just me for a hot second. So let's get into some of these questions here in the chat room before we wrap things up. And let's see here. We got our buddy Gavin wants to know Stevenson or Bolden or Jalen Howard. I love Brandon Bolden today. I really think he's going to be catching a bunch of passes today for New England. I know Stevenson, as we just talked about, is active, but it's a Brandon Bolden game. He's going to be like a James White. He's going to be catching balls out of the backfield. He's probably going to have – I'm going to go as far as say as he's going to have between 15 and 20 touches today. And for a fantasy matchup, that's all you could ask for. So I'm going to go with Bolden here. Great question, Gavin. Appreciate it as always. Our buddy Caesar, Carson Wentz or Russell Wilson? That is a tough question, my friend. I will say we were talking about how Carson Wentz is our start of the week. I really do like Russell Wilson against Green Bay as well. There is snow in Green Bay today, guys. There's about half an inch of snow on the field. It's going to be cold. I hate to say this, but I think I would go Carson Wentz because Jacksonville has just not been very good. And Carson has been playing out of his mind the last couple of weeks. I said earlier on the show, I predict Carson Wentz could be the top scoring quarterback in all of fantasy this week. So with that said, give Carson Wentz a play here. Give Russell a week to get back at it and see what happens. But I love Carson Wentz this week. That's a great question. The questions are pouring in, chat room, so please don't hesitate. Keep getting them into us. If you have more questions, get them in. Monier has a question here for us. Javonte Williams or Van Jefferson or McKissick? Well, for me, this is between Van Jefferson or J.D. McKissick, right? Tampa Bay secondary is horrible. And, Van Jefferson gets to go up against the 49ers, who are a little bit better, but not quite as awful as the Bucks. I think McKissick's going to be heavily involved in this game because if you want to beat the Bucks, you're going to have to throw against them. And let's be honest, J.D. McKissick is just a running back that is a wide receiver that basically lives in the backfield. So if I had to pick one here, I would take McKissick, but I still want to start Van Jefferson. I'm curious, Monier, in your chat, if you could let us know in the chat who you have starting in addition to these guys, because I think Van Jefferson and McKissick are both must-starts this week. So if you can find a way to get them both in your lineup, I would do it. Monier also wants to know Higbee or Freiermuth. I just talked about it a little while ago. I think Tyler Higbee's droppable at this point. He's falling into the background on that team. And, of course, now Odell Beckham Jr. will cast a bigger shadow on him. So I'm starting Freiermuth even with Mason Rudolph starting for the Steelers. He's just a safety blanket. He's a big guy, and he's been getting it done. He's a touchdown machine. Jamal Lewis, Aaron Rodgers, or Kirk Cousins? You got to start Aaron Rodgers today. He's going to come fired up after hearing about all the hot talk in the media about him. Seattle is arguably one of the worst secondaries in football right now. Aaron Rodgers is going to light things up today. So I am starting Aaron Rodgers wherever I can. Get him in your lineup, Jamal. You will not regret it. Any sleeper defenses this week? For me, available in a lot of leagues, you've got the Denver defense that's available in a lot of leagues going up against Philly. You've seen Jalen Hurts be turnover susceptible. They've turned over the ball quite a bit. And Denver could easily pick up a couple fumbles and run them back for scores. So I think that Denver defense could be a scary, decent play against Philadelphia. So for me, they're my sleeper of the week. Our buddy Nick in the chat, Dearness Johnson, Javonte Williams, or Ingram pick two. I'm going to go Dearness Johnson and Mark Ingram. Of course, Ingram starting for the Saints today in place of the injured Alvin Kamara. And Dearness Johnson is going to be the lead dog for Cleveland today against New England. The amount of carries that they're going to get you got to plug them in your lineup, and you cannot bench them. So I would go with those two, Ingram and Johnson. That's a great problem to have, though. Javonte is going to be a great name the rest of the season. I just like those two better today. Ricardo, good question here. This is a tough one. Zach Moss, Gibson, or Carter, half-point PPR. I love Moss's matchup. Of course, Buffalo going up against the New York Jets. Moss was not expected to play this week, and he actually was announced to be active a little while ago. So I'm a little hesitant to play him because of the injury. But I don't like Gibson because he's dealing with the injury, and he's got a tougher matchup today. And he's got to fight, with McKissick for touches. And then Carter also, has a tough matchup against the Bills. So I would start Moss since he is active, because even if he gets 10 carries, he could easily score a touchdown and go for 80 to 100 yards. So I would take Moss here, Ricardo. It's a tough call, but I would go with the upside. And then Nick asked me to add Carter to this mix as well. Dearness Johnson, Javonte Williams, Carter, or Ingram. My answer doesn't change. You're still starting Dearness Johnson and Mark Ingram. They're both going to get you where you need to go, and you're going to feel good about it. Our buddy Jamal, any value in adding either Marquez Callaway or Robbie Anderson from free agency? Yes, there is. Long term, I like Robbie Anderson here, and I'm going to tell you why. Cam Newton will probably be leading this team the rest of the season, and probably next season too. And Robbie Anderson just can't get it going with anybody else. But he's got a good history with Cam Newton. Cam Newton and him, they're going to work on that relationship, and he's a big play guy. I think Robbie Anderson could be a sneaky play the rest of the season. Someone you could pick up now and stash on your bench and see how things go the next 2-3 weeks. And then you could always drop him later. But I would take a chance on adding Robbie Anderson with the addition of Cam Newton. It makes things really intriguing there. Callaway's a good option, but the quarterback play is just kind of all over the place for the Saints, and I have a hard time trusting them right now. So I'm going to go with Robbie Anderson as an option for someone you can pick up. Him and Russell Gage. I don't know, Jamal, if you looked on your wire to see if Russell Gage is available, for the Falcons. Basically, he's their number one option the rest of the season with Ridley out. It's between him and Kyle Pitts. So, and especially against the Cowboys today, I'm really a big fan of Russell Gage. So he could be a guy that can help you out quite a bit. So Jamal, but right now you could definitely add Robbie Anderson. I wouldn't feel horrible about it. Before we get out of here, I'm going to do a quick run through our inactives list and see any big names that may have been added to the list since we started the show. But while I do that, feel free to get questions in. I'm happy to answer them. I'll be wrapping the show here in about 5 minutes or so. But diving through the inactive list, of course, for Tampa Bay, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, both inactive. Nobody of note really on the Washington football team out. So obviously no Gronk, no Antonio Brown. For Atlanta, you're not really missing anybody that you're going to start in fantasy. Same thing for the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys, of course, activated wide receiver Michael Gallup off of IR. He's a guy that can help you in fantasy today. If he's out there, go grab him because I think he's going to have a good day. So he's a guy you want to add now before his value really blows up. For the New Orleans Saints, we talked about Alvin Kamara inactive, Mark Ingram getting the start. So get Kamara out of your lineups and make sure he's not starting because you do not want to get that goose egg in your lineup this far into the season. What else we got here? Going into the Jaguars-Colts game, nobody big time, no big names. Xavier Rhodes, the biggest name, cornerback inactive for the Colts today. So that could mean good things for Dan Arnold, the tight end that we talked about for Jacksonville. So Dan Arnold is a very good play. Same thing with Marvin Jones. I like both of those guys this week. Into the Buffalo game, we thought Zach Moss was going to be inactive. Buffalo and the Jets. Zach Moss will be playing. So Zach Moss, you can plug him in your lineup as expected. He should be good to go. For the Jets, Zach Wilson still out with that injury. Mike White getting the start at quarterback. So, look for your, Jets. You're probably not starting any Jets, let's be honest, except for maybe Elijah Moore. But outside of those guys, I'm not touching the Jets. Detroit and Pittsburgh. This is a good game. A lot of big names inactive for this game. Of course, you got Jamal Williams inactive for the Lions, and then you've got your buddy Chase Claypool inactive for the Steelers. So look for guys like Deontay Johnson and Pat Freiermuth to be super active today. I like them here. As I'm running through this inactives list, I just got a question come in from Matt. He wants to know Dearness Johnson, Javonte, CD, AJB, or Pittman Jr. How many of these am I choosing, Matt? Can you let me know in the chat? I love Dearness Johnson, CD, and Pittman this week. Let me know how many I got to choose here for you. Happy to help you with the question. But while you get the rest of that in the chat, I'm going to dive into the rest of the inactives for the Browns game and the early games. Getting into this Cleveland Browns game, New England, of course, no Damian Harris today, no Jonnu Smith. So that means good things for Hunter Henry. I'm predicting that today Jacoby Myers scores the first touchdown of his career. I'm hoping that happens. I have him in a lot of leagues, and it's about time. So look for that to happen today. Nobody of fantasy relevancy out on the Browns, which is great. And that takes us into the afternoon games. Not a lot of inactives available for those yet. Looking through them now to see if there's any big names. For the Monday night game tomorrow, the only fantasy relevant name here is JaMychal Hasty. A lot of people have him. He will not be playing, so that means good things for Jeff Wilson, who is available in a lot of leagues. I recommend picking him up and starting him. I expect at least a touchdown out of him, so give it a whirl there. But those are the inactives that are out so far. We had another question here from Florian. Pick one in full PPR: Peterson, Conklin, or Chenault. Well, I do not like Adrian Peterson today. I just have a bad feeling that offense isn't going to be able to get anything done. Jacksonville with Chenault, he's been up and down all year, is not really a trustworthy player. I really love what I've seen out of Tyler Conklin so far this year. He's an athletic guy. He gets it done. And he's got a good matchup against the Chargers, who have not been very good against the tight end at all this year. And let's be honest, if they want to beat the Chargers, they're going to have to throw and use their tight end across the middle of the field. So, with that said, I go with Tyler Conklin. I'm feeling good about it. So I would say give Tyler Conklin a start and, see what happens, because I don't like Adrian Peterson. I don't like Chenault this week. Go with Tyler Conklin. And Florian, I'm curious if you can mention here in the chat who you have available on waivers. There could be some better options out there. I would start a Russell Gage over these guys. I would even probably go with Michael Gallup, who just got activated off of IR by the Cowboys, over all three of these guys. So let me know if any of those guys are available on waivers. Happy to answer here in the chat. Our buddy Matt says fantasy shows and contests for cryptocurrency are going to be big soon. Yeah, I've already started to see that a little bit on DraftKings and FanDuel. You could enter to win, 1 Bitcoin or something like that. And I think that is going to be big. I think next year especially, you're going to see a lot of that. So that'll be exciting to see. Matt, back to your other question, Matt. You listed off 5 guys. I'm curious, how many of those do I have to pick, or is that who you have starting? Happy to help you answer the question. I got about a couple minutes left in the show before we wrap. Any last-minute questions, get them in here. But I do want to point out there's a lot of other great shows coming up on the Barroom Network. Of course, every week you got Dan and Aldo Bare Their Souls. Tuesday nights, Monday. The network is changing right now because there's no Bears this week. But usually you would have Bear football at the halftime show and post game. You got the Mike North advantage. You got Greg Gabriel talking football, science fiction, talking about science fiction movies or comic book movies. They recently did an episode talking about Venom and all those other cool shows. Spider-Man No Way Home. Let's see here what else we got going on the network. You got Bulls Gold. You got the Bulls 101. You got a ton of great Bulls content. You got Bar Down Blackhawks, talking not only Blackhawks hockey, but hockey across the whole NHL. Crosstown Crosstalk with Vinny and Joey Parisi. I mean, the list goes on and on. Barfly Tailgate, that show was just on right before us. Tons of great content here on the Barroom Network. So you really, really appreciate everyone tuning in. And, you can always help support us by going to deepdishtees.com/barroom. You see it there at the bottom of the screen. You can help us by picking up some merch, whether it's a Barroom Network hat. Adam had on his Fantasy Football Goon hoodie earlier. You name it, all the great shows on the network have merchandise there. My other show, South Burbs Hitmen, also having products on there. We appreciate anything you can do to help us. And even just tuning in, it means so much to us. So we appreciate that as always. And head over to deepdishtees.com/barroom and help support the network. It means a lot. We do have another question here from Matt. He said, "It wasn't a question, bro. Thanks. I ain't Matt Nagy. I don't ask questions. I give answers. I appreciate your show." Matt, appreciate it, man. Yeah, we appreciate you as well. I love that lineup. And, I'm going to put it back up on the screen again. Look at this. Dearness Johnson, Javonte, CD, AJB, Pittman Jr. All these guys are going to have big days. Javonte is a guy that I think he's going to have a decent day today. But the rest of the season, this is a guy that his stock is on the rise. This guy's talking about crypto, so he knows about stock on the rise. Javonte going to have a big rest of the season. So he's another guy you can target in trades before the deadline. Most leagues have a fantasy trade deadline right around Thanksgiving, so coming up here in a couple weeks. But we fielded all the questions. We talked about all the great shows on the Barroom Network. I want to give a huge thank you to my co-host, Adam Schaum, who had to take off at 11. But it's been great answering some of these questions here in the chat room. If you got a last-minute one, I will answer it here in the next minute. If not, I will answer it on Twitter. You can follow me directly at Joe Mandel. You can follow Adam at Papa Bear 816. And, of course, don't forget to follow Fantasy Football Goon at FFB Goon. Adam and I will be answering all questions all year long. We also have a Facebook. We also have an Instagram. You can find us, and we're going to answer the questions for you, especially on Twitter. I live on Twitter during football Sundays, so do not hesitate to reach out. We're going to help you with all your questions. So I shouted out my co-host, Adam, all my other great cohorts on the Barroom Network. I appreciate you guys and all your great shows. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and be notified whenever we go live. We got tons of great shows on this network, and we have content for every kind of palette. You like baseball, you like hockey, football, fantasy, entertainment, sports, betting, you name it. It's all here. Our buddy Jamal in the chat says, "Thanks for your help today." As always, happy to help you, Jamal. And hopefully you get that W in fantasy this week. In terms of my shout-outs, thanks, Adam. Thanks, my co-hosts on the network. And, of course, my beautiful wife, Catherine, my dog, Maverick, my baby daughter, Audrey Lauren Marie Mandel, who was due in January. Cannot wait to meet you. And, of course, I wouldn't be able to do this without you guys tuning in, so it means a lot to me. Yeah, and that's about it. We got to the point of the show where we are going to wrap things up. Go get that fantasy W this week. It's been fun hanging out with you guys. Any last-minute questions, hit us up on Twitter. But until then, for Fantasy Football Goon, I am Joe Mandel, the Goon. My co-host is Adam Schaum, the man with the plan. Go win those fantasy matchups. We'll see you guys next week. God bless America. God bless football. And let's kick some ass. We'll see you guys next week.